Three books, written 94 years apart, during completely different economic conditions, yet they agree on something fundamental about wealth. But here's what's strange. Where they disagree reveals something even more important. Because the rules of wealth aren't fixed. They shift. And understanding why tells you exactly what to focus on right now. Section 1. The pattern. We're comparing three books across three eras. 1926, The Richest Man in Babylon by George Clason. 1937, Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. 2020, The Psychology of Money by Morgan Housel. Each was written during a radically different moment in history, and each identified a different bottleneck to wealth. In 1926, the bottleneck was discipline. In 1937, the bottleneck was belief. In 2020, the bottleneck was behavior. That progression isn't accidental, it's structural. And it explains why each book says what it says. Section 2. The Richest Man in Babylon. Discipline. In 1926, the world was stable. Economies grew predictably. If you saved money and invested it, it compounded. Clason's insight was simple. Most people don't get rich because they don't save, not because they can't, because they won't. His core principle was clear. Pay yourself first. Save at least 10% of everything you earn before spending anything else. Then make your gold multiply. Invest it. Let it compound. That's it. Two ideas: discipline and compounding. Why this worked in 1926 is simple. The system was stable enough that discipline alone could work. If you saved and invested, you won. The problem Clason was solving was not opportunity, it was lack of willpower. Section 3. Think and Grow Rich. Belief. Then came 1929, the Great Depression. Everything Babylon taught stopped working. People who saved lost everything. The stock market collapsed. The system broke. By 1937, when Hill published Think and Grow Rich, the problem wasn't discipline anymore. Disciplined people were starving. The problem was belief. Hill's core insight was this: you must reprogram your mind first. Belief precedes action. His framework followed a sequence: desire, faith, autosuggestion, visualization, action. The mechanism was psychological. Change your subconscious belief about what's possible, and your behavior changes automatically. Why this worked in 1937 is critical. The economy was broken, but opportunity still existed for those who believed they could seize it. The bottleneck shifted from willpower to psychology. The problem Hill was solving was learned helplessness and defeatism. Section 4. Psychology of Money Behavior. By 2020, we have a different problem entirely. Information is everywhere. Opportunities are everywhere. People believe they can get rich, but they still don't. Why? Because between belief and outcome, there's behavior. Housel's core insight is simple. Intelligence doesn't guarantee wealth. Behavior does. His framework is straightforward. Discipline, reasonable risk, time. But here's the twist. Behavior is harder than intelligence. A genius who can't control spending loses. An average person who sticks to a plan wins. Why this works in 2020 is clear. We have too much information, too many choices, too much noise. The bottleneck isn't discipline anymore. It isn't belief either. It's the ability to stick to a boring plan, while everyone else chases shortcuts. The problem Housel is solving is behavioral chaos in an information-saturated world. Section 5. Where they converge. Now here's what matters. Despite being written in three different eras, solving three different problems, all three books agree on something fundamental. First, convergence. Spend less than you earn. Clason says, control your expenditures. Hill implies it through wealth-building discipline. Housel calls it the most boring and most important rule. Second, convergence. Compounding is the engine. Clason says, make your gold multiply. Hill implies it through persistence and leverage. Housel explains that most wealth comes from time, not intelligence. Third, convergence. Specialized knowledge matters. Clason tells you to seek advice from those with experience. Hill makes it one of his core principles. Housel frames it as understanding your own situation. These aren't opinions. They survived three different economic systems. That's not coincidence. Section 6. Where they diverge, but they disagree on something crucial. What is the primary lever? First disagreement: belief versus behavior. Clayson says act first. Discipline creates results. Hill says believe first. Belief creates action. Housel says behavior is primary. Belief must be reasonable. Why they diverge is structural. In 1926, the system rewarded action. In 1937, the system punished action without belief. In 2020, the system punishes both without sustainable behavior. Second disagreement: risk tolerance. Clayson says protect wealth, invest conservatively. Hill says take calculated risks, visualize big wins. Housel says take risks you can afford and maintain safety margins. Different errors, different speeds, different dangers. Third disagreement: timeline. Clayson says wealth takes time, plant seeds, wait for trees. Hill says wealth can come quickly if belief and action align. Housel reminds us that most overnight successes take 20 years. Different eras created different expectations. Section 7, the structural pattern. When you strip away error-specific advice, a pattern emerges. Across all three, saving precedes freedom. You cannot skip this step. No amount of belief changes it. No amount of optimization replaces it. Belief enables action, but behavior sustains outcomes. You need all three: the willingness to act, the psychology to persist, and the systems to avoid self-sabotage. Leverage compounds only when discipline exists first. You can't compound your way out of overspending. You can't believe your way out of it. You have to stop doing it. The bottleneck to wealth isn't fixed. In 1926, it was discipline. In 1937, it was belief. In 2020, it's behavior. But the foundation never changes. Closing the sealed insight. Here's the insight that seals it. When the same rules survive radically different eras, they stop being advice. They become structure. Clayson, Hill, and Housel aren't three philosophies. They're three angles on the same underlying system. The system doesn't change. The bottleneck does. And if you can identify your bottleneck, whether it's discipline, belief, or behavior, you know exactly what to work on. That's not motivation, that's clarity.